What if I told you that the person who knows all your secrets is hiding 7 massive ones of their own? Think about it. You know that friend who somehow always knows when you're upset before you say a word? The one who gives the best advice, who seems to have life figured out, who's always there for everyone else. Yeah, that person. They're probably an INFJ. And while they're busy being everyone's personal therapist, they're guarding their own secrets like the crown jewels. Here's something wild. INFJs make up only 1 to 2% of the population. That's rarer than people with green eyes, rarer than left-handed folks, rarer than finding a parking spot at the mall during Christmas. They're like the unicorns of the personality world, except they actually exist, and they're probably sitting next to you right now, silently analyzing everything. Now, INFJs are famous for their ability to read people. It's almost spooky how well they understand human nature. But here's the plot twist. While they're out here understanding everyone else, they're keeping their own truth locked in a vault with about 17 different passwords and a biometric scanner. Today, we're breaking into that vault. We're exposing the things INFJs pray you'll never figure out. The secrets they'd rather take to their grave than share at a dinner party. And trust me, by the end of this video, if you're an INFJ, you're gonna feel like someone just read your diary. And if you know an INFJ, oh boy, you're about to have so many moments. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into the mysterious world of the INFJ personality. Here are 7 things they absolutely, positively, desperately love to keep hidden from the world. 1. Their mind is basically a never-ending movie theater. All right, let's start with something that'll blow your mind. When you look at an INFJ, you see a regular person, right? Maybe they're quiet, maybe they seem thoughtful, maybe they're just sitting there looking normal. Wrong. Dead wrong. Inside that head is basically a Steven Spielberg production happening in real time, complete with multiple plot lines, character development, and alternate endings. I'm not exaggerating here. An INFJ's inner world is so vast and detailed that if you could somehow project it onto a screen, you'd need a whole Netflix series just to cover what they thought about today. They've got entire imaginary conversations happening up there. Not just, oh, I wonder what I'll say. No, they've scripted out full dialogues, complete with tone, body language, and 3 different versions depending on how the other person responds. They're running simulations constantly. What if this happens? What if that happens? What would I do if someone said this? How would this situation play out in 5 different scenarios? Their brain is like a chess computer, except instead of chess moves, it's calculating human behavior and life possibilities. And the creativity? Off the charts. They've designed dream houses they'll never build, planned trips they might never take, and created entire fictional worlds during their morning commute. Some INFJs have characters in their head they've been developing for years. Literally years. These aren't just daydreams, they're fully realized alternate realities. But here's the kicker, they're never gonna tell you about any of this. Because the few times they've tried, people looked at them like they'd grown a second head. You think about what? That's weird. You need to get out more. So they learned real quick to keep their mental masterpiece theater to themselves. Plus, honestly, explaining their thought process is exhausting. It's like trying to describe a color that doesn't exist or explaining a dream that made perfect sense at 3 a.m. but sounds completely insane now. So they just don't. They smile, they nod, and they go right back to their inner world, where things actually make sense. The only time you'll catch a glimpse is in their art, their writing, or those rare 2 a.m. conversations when they're comfortable enough to let a little bit slip. But even then, you're seeing maybe 5% of what's really happening in there. The rest stays locked away, safe and sound. 2. They're walking emotional radar systems, and it's killing them. Okay, real talk time. INFJs don't just notice emotions, they absorb them like a sponge left in a puddle. And we're not talking about a cute little, oh, I'm empathetic party trick. This is full-on emotional infiltration, whether they want it or not. Picture this. An INFJ walks into a room. Before anyone even speaks, they've already downloaded the emotional status of everyone present. Susan in the corner is anxious about something, even though she's smiling. Dave seems fine, but there's anger simmering underneath. The whole room has this weird tense energy that nobody else seems to notice. But the INFJ? They've already picked up all of it, and now it's in their system like they caught an emotional virus. It's not even conscious most of the time. They don't decide to feel what others are feeling. It just happens automatically, like breathing. Someone's sad? That sadness is now their sadness. Someone's stressed? Congratulations, the INFJ just inherited that stress. And the worst part? They can't turn it off. Ever. It's like having emotional Wi-Fi that's permanently connected to everyone within a 50-foot radius. Now, you'd think with this superpower, they'd be talking about it all the time, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. They've learned the hard way that mentioning this makes people uncomfortable or dismissive. They've heard, "You're too sensitive," about 1,000,000 times. They've been told to just not care so much by people who don't understand that it's not a choice. It's like telling someone to just decide not to hear the fire alarm going off. So they suffer in silence. They walk around carrying not just their own emotional baggage but everybody else's too, like some kind of emotional pack mule. They'll spend an hour with a friend and then need 3 hours alone just to separate their feelings from everyone else's feelings they accidentally collected. And here's something that'll really get you. They feel guilty about needing recovery time from being around people they love. They care deeply about their friends and family, but interacting with them is like running an emotional marathon while carrying a backpack full of rocks. They love you, but they're also exhausted by you, and they hate themselves for feeling that way. The really messed up part? People usually have no idea. That INFJ who seems so calm and put together? They just spent the last hour processing 6 different people's emotional states while pretending to be totally fine. They're basically emotional paramedics, except they never get to clock out and nobody's giving them hazard pay. 3. Alone time isn't optional, it's oxygen. Let's address something that makes INFJs sound like hermits, but I promise there's a good reason for it. Bees need alone time the way fish need water, plants need sunlight, and I need coffee on Monday mornings. It's not negotiable. It's not a preference. It's survival. But here's the problem. Saying, "I need to be completely alone with no human contact for the next 48 hours, makes you sound like either a serial killer or incredibly rude. So INFJs have become masters of the gentle excuse. "Oh, I've got so much work to do. I'm not feeling great. Maybe next week?" Meanwhile, their real plan is to sit in their room, not talking to a single soul, and just existing without having to perform the exhausting act of being human. See, for an INFJ, social interaction is like running a marathon while juggling. Even hanging out with their best friend, someone they genuinely love, requires energy. They're constantly reading emotions, monitoring the conversation, making sure everyone's comfortable, analyzing what's being said and what's not being said. It's mentally exhausting. And because they absorb emotions like we talked about earlier, being around people means collecting all their emotional junk. By the end of a social gathering, an INFJ is basically carrying around everyone's problems, worries, and feelings like overstuffed shopping bags. They need alone time to unpack all of that, process it, and reset their system. During their solitude, magical things happen. They decompress. They process everything they've experienced. They untangle all those emotions they collected. They recharge their social battery, which drains faster than a phone with 50 apps running in the background. They organize their thoughts, reconnect with themselves, and basically remember who they are underneath all the emotional noise. But admitting they need this much alone time feels selfish. It feels like they're saying, "I don't like you," when really they're saying, "I like me, and I need to spend time with me to stay sane." There's a massive difference, but try explaining that without sounding like a self-help book threw up on you. So INFJs hide how desperately they need solitude. They'll push themselves to be social, to say yes to invitations, to be available for others, all while internally screaming for just one day where nobody needs anything from them. And then they'll finally get home, close the door, and feel that sweet relief of not having to be on anymore. The guilt is real though. They'll cancel plans and feel terrible about it. They'll decline invitations and worry people think they're antisocial. They'll disappear for a few days and stress about whether their friends are upset. But the alternative, not getting that alone time, leads to burnout, overwhelm, and a complete emotional shutdown. So they choose solitude and deal with the guilt privately. For the mental hamster wheel never stops running. Let me paint you a picture of what goes on inside an INFJ's head on any given day. Actually, scratch that. Let me paint you 17 different pictures because that's how many thought trains are running simultaneously at any moment. INFJs overthink like it's an Olympic sport and they're going for gold. That text you sent them 3 hours ago? They've analyzed it from every possible angle. The punctuation, the word choice, the time you sent it, what you didn't say. They've constructed at least 8 different interpretations of what you meant and are currently stress testing each theory. Had a conversation yesterday? Cool, they've replayed it 47 times since then. They're wondering if that joke landed weird, if they should have said something different, if you noticed that awkward pause, if their laugh sounded fake, if they came across as too interested or not interested enough. Every single interaction gets the full forensic analysis treatment. And decisions? Oh man, don't even get me started on decisions. An INFJ can turn "what should I have for lunch" into a 30-minute internal debate involving nutritional value, budget concerns, environmental impact, and whether choosing one restaurant over another sends the wrong message to the universe. I'm barely joking here. Big decisions are even worse. They'll map out the next 5 to 10 years based on one choice. They'll consider not just the immediate consequences but the ripple effects, the long-term implications, what doors this opens or closes, how it affects everyone involved, and whether future them will regret it. They've already lived out multiple timelines in their head like they're Doctor Strange looking at 14 million possible futures. But here's what's wild. You'd never know any of this is happening. On the outside, they seem chill, confident, decisive even. They present their conclusions with certainty and poise. Inside, it's complete chaos. There's a mental war going on, and they're fighting on multiple fronts simultaneously. Why hide it? Because people don't react well to seeing the full extent of INFJ overthinking. They've tried being honest about their thought process before, and people hit them with the classics. You're overthinking it. Just relax. Why do you make everything so complicated? As if they can just flip a switch and turn their brain off. So they learn to keep the mental gymnastics private. They'll do all the overthinking behind closed doors, work through every scenario, exhaust every possibility, and then come back with a final answer that looks like it required zero effort. Meanwhile, they've just burned through enough mental energy to power a small city. The really exhausting part? They can't stop. Trust me, if they could turn off the overthinking, they would. But their brain doesn't have an off switch. It's got 17 different on switches, and they're all stuck in the on position. 5. Nobody really gets them, and that hurts more than they'll ever say. Here's something that cuts deep, and I mean really deep. INFJs walk through life with this constant, nagging feeling that nobody truly understands them. And before you say, everyone feels that way sometimes, no, not like this. This is different. INFJs are paradoxes wrapped in contradictions and tied with a bow made of complexity. They're incredibly social people who need massive amounts of alone time. They're tough as nails but sensitive enough to cry over a touching commercial. They're practical realists who believe in magic and possibility. They're independent souls who crave deep connection. They can be all of these things at once, and it makes perfect sense to them, but to everyone else? It's confusing as hell. They'll share something about themselves, and people latch onto it like they've cracked the code. Oh, you're an introvert. Sure, but that's like one pixel in a massive digital photograph. It doesn't capture anything close to the full picture. But explaining that they're not just an introvert, they're an introvert who loves deep conversations but hates small talk, who can be the life of the party for exactly 2 hours before needing 3 days of solitude, yeah, that gets exhausting real fast. What really stings is when their intentions get completely twisted. INFJs are genuine. Like, painfully genuine. When they care, they really care. When they're being nice, it's not fake, it's real. But because they're selective with their trust and naturally private, people sometimes think they're manipulative, fake, or secretly judging everyone. That couldn't be further from the truth, but good luck convincing people of that. They've had so many experiences of opening up only to be misunderstood that they've basically given up on being fully known. They've tried explaining their thought process and watched people's eyes glaze over. They've shared their feelings and been told they're too intense or too much. They've been authentic and had people completely miss the point. So what do? They stop trying. They accept that most people will only understand the surface-level version of them, and they make peace with that. They save their true selves for the tiny handful of people who actually get it. And if they never find those people, well, they've got themselves, and sometimes that has to be enough. The loneliness that comes with being constantly misunderstood is something INFJs carry silently. They're surrounded by people who think they know them, but inside, they feel isolated. It's like being in a crowded room where everyone's speaking a different language, and you're the only one who notices. But they'll never tell you this. They'll never say, "You don't understand me," because that sounds dramatic or attention-seeking. So they smile, they nod, they let people believe whatever they want to believe, and they keep the loneliness tucked away where nobody can see it. 6. They're their own worst enemy. All right, buckle up because we're about to expose something INFJs really don't want anyone to know. The way they talk to themselves would make a drill sergeant look gentle. The standards they set for themselves aren't just high. They're basically impossible, hovering somewhere in the stratosphere where oxygen is thin and normal humans can't survive. An INFJ will accomplish something genuinely impressive, land a promotion, finish a project, help someone through a crisis, and instead of celebrating, they'll immediately zoom in on the one tiny thing that wasn't perfect. That 0.5% margin of error? That's what they'll focus on for the next 3 weeks while completely ignoring the 99.5% they nailed. They made a typo in an email? Mental torture. They said something slightly awkward in a conversation from 2 months ago? Still replaying it. They snapped at someone because they were exhausted? Welcome to the guilt spiral that lasts for approximately eternity. They hold themselves to standards of perfection they'd never dream of expecting from anyone else. And the self-criticism? It's vicious. While they're out here being kind, compassionate, and understanding toward everyone else, their inner voice sounds like a combination of every mean comment they've ever received plus their own creative additions. They'll tear themselves apart for the smallest mistakes, convinced they should have known better, done better, been better. Here's what makes it worse. INFJs have this strong moral compass, right? They care deeply about doing the right thing, being a good person, living up to their values. So when they inevitably fall short, because again, they're human, they don't just feel like they made a mistake. They feel like they've failed as a person. It's not, "I messed up," it's, "I'm a terrible human being who doesn't deserve good things." But will they tell you about any of this? Absolutely not. On the outside, they're the picture of confidence and competence. They're the ones giving pep talks, offering encouragement, reminding others to be kind to themselves. Meanwhile, they're not taking any of their own advice because somehow those rules don't apply to them. Why hide it? Because INFJs are usually cast in the role of the strong one, the advisor, the person who has it together. People come to them for help, for guidance, for support. Admitting that they're struggling with self-worth or drowning in self-criticism feels like it would shatter that image. It feels like it would burden others or make them seem weak. So they keep the internal battle completely private. They'll push themselves harder, criticize themselves harsher, and maintain that calm exterior while inside they're basically at war with themselves. And the really sad part? They're often their own biggest obstacle. Not external challenges, not other people, themselves. They're capable of so much more than they give themselves credit for, but they're too busy beating themselves up to notice. 7. They've already decided if you're worth their energy, and they're not telling you which category you're in. Okay, here comes the secret that makes INFJs sound cold, but I promise there's logic to it. INFJs are extremely, incredibly, intensely selective about who gets access to them. And by access, I don't mean just spending time together. I mean who actually gets to know the real them, who receives their emotional investment, who earns their trust. Here's how it works. In an INFJ's mind, everyone fits into categories. There are random acquaintances, there are casual friends, there are close friends, and then there's that inner circle that's so exclusive it makes VIP clubs look accessible. Most people never make it past the first 2 levels, and they don't even realize there are more levels to reach. Moving from one category to another isn't easy. It takes time, consistency, and passing tests you don't even know you're taking. INFJs are watching, observing, taking mental notes. How do you treat people when you think nobody's watching? How do you react under pressure? Do your actions match your words? Can you be trusted with small things before being trusted with big things? They're basically running a background check on everyone they meet, except it's all happening silently in their head. Now, before anyone gets offended, this isn't about thinking they're better than everyone else. It's about survival. INFJs have been burned. They've trusted the wrong people. They've invested their energy in relationships that drained them. They've opened up only to have their vulnerability used against them. They've given their all to people who didn't appreciate it or reciprocate it. So now they're careful. Extremely careful. Their energy is limited. Remember that emotional sponge thing and the need for alone time? Yeah, all of that means INFJs only have so much to give. They can't invest deeply in everyone, so they've learned to invest wisely. It's not personal, it's protective. But here's what they'll never tell you. They've already decided which category you're in, and unless you pay very close attention, you probably won't know. They're nice to everyone. They're friendly with everyone. They'll have conversations with everyone. But that doesn't mean everyone's getting the same version of them. Surface-level people get the polite, pleasant, casual friends get a bit more. Some humor, some personality, some surface-level sharing. Close friends get access to deeper thoughts, real opinions, and genuine vulnerability. The inner circle? They get everything. The weird, the intense, the messy, the real, unfiltered INFJ. And you know what the most INFJ thing about this is? If you've made it to that inner circle, you've earned something incredibly rare. INFJs don't trust easily, and if they trust you, it means something. But they'll never tell you how special that is because they don't want to make it weird or pressure the relationship. They hide this whole categorization system because explaining it sounds harsh. Oh, so you're judging everyone? You're keeping score? No, it's not like that. It's about protecting something precious, themselves, their energy, their peace. They've learned that not everyone deserves the gift of the real them, and there's wisdom in being selective. So if an INFJ seems friendly but distant, if they're warm but guarded, if they'll talk for hours but never seem to share much about themselves, you're probably in the outer circles. Don't take it personally. They're just protecting something that's been hurt too many times before. Conclusion. So there you have it, 7 secrets, plus 1 bonus truth, that INFJs guard like their lives depend on it. From their incredibly rich inner worlds to their selective energy investment, from their emotional sensitivity to their brutal self-criticism, INFJs are carrying way more than most people realize. If you're an INFJ watching this right now, I see you. I know you probably felt exposed at multiple points during this video, maybe even a little uncomfortable with how accurate some of this was. But here's what I want you to know. You don't have to hide all of this. The right people won't find your depth overwhelming. They'll find it fascinating. Your complexity isn't a flaw. It's what makes you remarkable. Your sensitivity isn't weakness. It's a superpower that just needs better boundaries. You're not too much. You're not too intense. You're not too complicated. You're exactly enough for the people who matter, and anyone who can't handle the real you doesn't deserve access to you anyway. And please, please be kinder to yourself. Give yourself the same compassion you freely give to everyone else. If you love an INFJ, whether they're your partner, your friend, your family member, or that one coworker who always seems to know when you're having a rough day, now you know there's an entire universe happening beneath the surface. Give them space when they need it without making them feel guilty. Appreciate their depth instead of asking them to be simpler. Understand that if they've let you in even a little, you're one of the rare ones. INFJs are walking contradictions, beautiful paradoxes, complex puzzles that most people never solve. They see the world in colors most people don't even know exist. They feel things deeply, think things thoroughly, and care more than they'll ever say out loud. They're rare for a reason. The world couldn't handle too many people with that much depth, that much intensity, that much genuine humanity. So to all the INFJs out there, thank you for being who you are, even when it's exhausting. Thank you for caring so deeply in a world that often seems to care so little. Thank you for understanding others, even when you feel misunderstood. Thank you for your quiet strength, your hidden struggles, and your refusal to be anything other than authentic, even when authenticity feels risky. And to everyone else, if you've got an INFJ in your life, treasure them. They're rarer than diamonds and infinitely more valuable. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive into the INFJ psyche. If this resonated with you, whether you're an INFJ feeling seen or someone who finally understands the INFJ in their life, drop a comment below. Tell me which secret hit home the hardest, or share your own INFJ experiences. Let's keep this conversation going. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more personality insights, and hit the notification bell so you never miss when we drop new content. And hey, if you've got other personality types you want me to break down, let me know in the comments. Until next time, remember, being understood is a gift, but understanding yourself is power. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and for all the INFJs out there, take care of you too because you deserve it.